Well, hello again. Pastor Ray Barnett here with you. Glad that you could be with me here on the Oasis. And as always, I wish you a good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on what time you're watching this broadcast. Well, you know what? We went from 85 degrees last week to 55 degrees this week. And though 55 is certainly not considered to be terribly cold, it's a bit brisk out here today. As you can see, the leaves are coming off the trees. We're going past peak right now, and God is still good. You've suffered from nervous symptoms, some of you, all your life. For others, it's been the last few years, and then for others, it's been just lately. The question I want to ask you and to begin the broadcast with today is this, and especially for those of you who are, let's say, experienced sufferers. What have you learned in your suffering? Now, you may think that that's an odd question to ask, because some may say, I haven't learned a thing except I can't get rid of these symptoms, and they frighten me, and they're distressing and depressing and so on. Well, I mean, that's one thing you'd learn, but that doesn't really take much thinking to come up with the fact that nervous symptoms are very distressing, uncomfortable, tormenting at times, and so on. But as Christians, and remember this is a Christian broadcast, as Christians, we can use these situations, keeping in mind that we're looking for healing. Jesus is a healer, the healer. So I'm not suggesting that just keep, looking, just live with it. We're looking for a solution. We're looking for a way out, and that's what this broadcast is hopefully going to provide you with. It has for many people I've worked with. But in the meantime, just a little interlude here as we deal with these things. What have you learned? Now again, I mentioned that I'm asking this question as a Christian pastor to presumably a larger Christian audience. There are things that you can glean and insights that you can get out of your suffering. And I know that some of you have done that because of the comments that I've gotten or in emails of things that you're noticing. For example, a common bit of counseling and technique is to learn what precipitates your palpitations or the choking feeling or the stomach pains when it's related to nervous symptoms. Obviously they're called triggers. What is there some is it in a certain environment? I've noticed that I become more tense in certain situations than in others. Well, that's no big revelation, you may say. Well, sometimes it's not so obvious. In other words, I'm picking going to the dentist. That makes a lot of people nervous. So it doesn't seem to take too much thinking that going to the dentist is going to make you nervous, tense, whereas I got a baseball game that's going on over here in the park right next to me. Playing a game of baseball is not going to make you all that nervous. At least not as nervous as the dentist. So you say, well, that doesn't take much thought. But I'm saying that in certain situations, it might not be so apparent that in this particular environment, which could be your own home, and it could even be a church or going to church, the marketplace, agoraphobia. It could be certain people, and then it could be certain personalities of people. It could be, I'm talking about triggers now, it could be certain smells. I knew a woman once who, the house I live in was built in 1948. And it's pretty much, the way it was when it was built. We haven't made major changes like knocking walls down and stuff. Anyway, she went into our downstairs bathroom, and later on when we were talking, she was a youth leader at the time. She was saying it reminded her of a very bad incident that happened to her when she was a young girl. Because, well, given our age, this is what bathrooms look like, the way my bathroom looks now. I mean, it's neat and clean, it's nice, but it still has the old tiling and stuff like that. Never took it down. I actually like it. Anyway, in her case, it became a trigger. And she picked up on it, of course. So what I'm saying is, what have you learned in your suffering? You want to start to look for the insights like these ones I'm talking about that may precipitate symptoms. Now, again, this could be difficult because it could be something internal. I don't mean just the mind. I mean, it could be something, an organ, like, a palpitation is a good example. Other things going on in your body, you start to notice it. Is there something that brought that on? Now, listen, you should by now understand if you have a heated argument 2 hours ago and all of a sudden you got you're tense and irritable, and that night you can't sleep. I've read of stories, I've heard of stories of people waking up in the middle of the night after a heated argument with their spouse. I mean, hours later, 7 hours later, develop a symptom. And so now it's tough to make the connection, because most people are not going to make the connection to what they're feeling as they're in bed in the middle of the night to what happened downstairs in a heated argument with the spouse. Those associations are a bit more difficult to learn, but as you grow and go forward with your healing in these things, these are the nervous symptoms. These are the things that you want to learn. You want to be able to know. Let me use anger as an example once again. If you should be able to know if you're going to get into a heated argument, which means you're angry, even if it's not expressed, and you're inside, you're boiling, somewhere along the line, you're going to begin to develop symptoms. Now, there's ways, I'm not going to deal with this today, but there's ways to deal with your anger instead of always eating it, stuffing it, which is not all that healthy either. You want to be able to express your feelings in a way that's acceptable. And I think it's easier to lose your temper with people closer to you. Well, sometimes it could be a stranger, somebody cuts you off on the road or something. But the point is, as we've gone over so many times, anger and fear and all the offshoots of those two main components, number one, produces symptoms. Number two, will exacerbate. It's going to make the symptom you have now worse. Or number three, it could precipitate and give birth to new symptoms altogether. So there's a lot of things that you want to be able to learn. So that's that's the question that I'm asking. What are you learning from your suffering? And the reason I proposed the question is because if we could start to learn from the suffering as Christians, we can apply Bible verses to the insights that we're gaining in our own behavior, in the environment, like the story I just mentioned to you, in the environment in which we are in. Could be at work, could be at home. Sometimes it could be both. People, personalities, and so on. As you gain an insight, let me say it again. So you're over here, and you're pretty much symptom-free. You're relaxed. You're over here, and you've got all these symptoms going on. Well, that should be pretty easy to figure out, that this situation here, this environment, this personality type, this person is a trigger for your symptoms. What are you learning? Are you learning to negotiate this? Let's say it's a person. Are you learning to negotiate around this individual? In some cases, Some people must, you have to build a wall with some people to keep them off. And think of it as a wall that has different heights. Some people have to be walled off so they can't get into your life at all. Others, it could be, just a little 3 foot where you can kind of have your space, your boundary, but still keep a relationship. And then you just keep applying that type of logic and kind of wisdom to other symptoms that you have. Be aware that you're going to have symptoms that in your mind have no apparent cause. Let me go back to what I just said, that you could have an argument at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, a strange, bizarre type of sensation develops at 3 a.m. in the morning when you're sleeping, and you can't make the connection. That's a lot harder. That takes a lot more diligence and vigilance to examine these things and realize, well, I lost my temper pretty good 12 hours ago, or even a day ago. And by the way, while I'm mentioning it too, for those of you that are under chronic stress, where the stressors are there all the time, well, that again should be obvious. And then you have to work out what type of solutions can I come up with so that this doesn't, number one, precipitate a symptom, number two, make the symptoms I have worse, or number three, give me new symptoms, nervous symptoms. We have, well, you have a lot of work to do. I want to say something too. Concerning this broadcast, I'm not giving you life hacks that every time I'm on the air, it's like, well, you know what I mean. I mean, I see these advertisements on social media, 10 minutes a day, and the guy's ripped. He's 70 years old and he's ripped. Well, that's just, I'll say baloney. That's all I can say. That's all I ever do say. I don't use vulgarity. Come on, man, give me a break. You're not getting great abs in 10 minutes a day. It's baloney. And on this broadcast here, think of it as a puzzle. Every 15-minute installment is just one little piece of a very large picture. And since I'm not doing a TED Talk or a 3-hour seminar, which most people are not going to listen to, I do them in little segments. So this is just another little installment to gain insight from your suffering. To gain insight into, if you can, now you can't always, but to gain insight into what is triggering. Met a friend of mine today who gets cluster headaches. Okay, what you would want to do is not just treat the symptom with the medication, which he may be doing, is you want to be able to find out what's causing those cluster headaches. All right, what is it that triggers them? It's what you ate, stress in the home. You get my idea. You get the picture. What have you learned from your suffering? What are you gleaning as insights that would ultimately lead you out of this suffering from nervous symptoms, from your depressions, from your anxieties, from your panic attacks? What are you learning from your symptoms? So today's broadcast is really more of an exhortation to apply due diligence to your situation. It is a business. Getting well is a business, it's not a game. You got to treat it like you're a business person, a businessman, businesswoman, and to get healed. And this is one more example of work that you have to do. What are you learning from your suffering? Start to think, and then you can keep a journal. That would be helpful too. I never did keep a journal, but probably should have, but got a good memory. Look for these signs, look for these insights to what can I learn out of my suffering, which, by the way, you can learn to be more sympathetic. I'm on this broadcast doing this for you because I know what it's like to go through what you're going through. That's one of the things that I learned. This is an awful thing. Let me see if I can help people. Let me see if I can help others. See, there's a lot you can learn. So, I just exhort you today to see what can you learn from your suffering that will help you in the end to be relieved of your suffering. Let me pray for you today. Father, I pray for my friends once again that they would be relieved, healed from their suffering of nervous symptoms, of anxieties and depressions. And help them to glean insights that will lead them out of this darkness, this distress, in Jesus' name. Okay, amen. I didn't use this today, but I've been exhorting you to download this from our website. This is the syllabus that we're going to be using. 12 Principles of Renewed, God's Answers for Anxiety. Put my name in. Pastor Ray Barnett, Time for Truth Ministries, Mental Health tab. Go down, you'll see this. Download it. Start to study it, because we will be referring to it. All right, again, if you'd like to be with us in these teachings, just subscribe to the channel. You know what to do. Hit the notification button, and that's the way you know when the video goes up. And then I always appreciate the thumbs up or a comment, which helps us to keep on the radar, and get on the radar more for other people to be helped, as I hope that you're being helped. For those of you, by the way, who watch on a daily basis, I will not be here tomorrow. I got to have a little procedure done, so I won't be back till Wednesday. In any case, keep me in prayer. I keep you in prayer, and God willing, I'll be with you here Wednesday, October the 11th? Yeah, on another broadcast. Until then, you make sure that no matter what you do, the peace of God rules in your heart. God bless you. See you Wednesday.